That's it for today, guys. I hope this hits. And if it does, I hope you share it. Share it with people. And stop being embarrassed about this stuff. The other day, I was chatting with a couple of my buddies, Jason and Ryan. We were talking about the Toronto Blue Jays. And, we were talking about, their pitching and their hitting and who's not doing this and who's not doing that and why they're struggling. And I said, guys, none of it's going to matter. None of the stuff that's on the field is going to matter until they're fixed at the top. And by the top, I mean like ownership, president, all those things. I learned this quite a while ago that any team, I don't care if you're talking about a sports team, a business, a society, any group of people trying to work together, you have no chance of success. Like, I mean, none. If you're broken at the top, none. You have no chance. And so I said, guys, we can sit here and we can talk about, we need this arm in the bullpen, or we need this guy hitting better. None of it's going to matter until they're fixed at the top, and they're pretty toxic at the top, and they're going to be that way for a long time. Today's episode of the Army of Great Men, we're going to talk about that from a societal perspective. We're going to talk about how society is broken at the top, and I'm going to tell you what I think the answer is to it. It's going to be a fun episode. Let's go. When you look at what's happening in the world today, you see all these things that are really kind of insane, right? A lot of the things that are happening in the world today, it actually shows you whoever's the driving force behind all the craziness in the world. And I'm going to tell you what I think that driving force is. But they're pretty tricky, right? Like, they're pretty devious, and they're pretty good at tricking people into, sort of losing their way and really getting focused on some strange things. I'll give you an example. Somewhere along the line, the world convinced a bunch of people, a bunch of feminists, in fact, that biological men should play women's sports. Imagine 10 years ago going to a group of feminists and saying, hey, would you be okay if men played women's sports? Would you be okay with that? I mean, there'd be riots in the streets. And today, it's not just the people that should be the most opposed to that are fighting for it. They're the ones driving it. That's how confused they are. Another example, if you can find something more absurd than a gay person supporting Hamas, right? Find me something more ridiculous than that. Find me something more ridiculous than supporting a group of people. Let's say you're gay, and you're going to support a group of people who thinks you should be murdered for being gay. And you're going to choose them as somebody you support. It just shows you just how ridiculously absurd the world is getting. Guys, I think what's happening in the world today, it starts at the top. And I think there's this battle going on at the top that most of us aren't even aware is happening. And, a lot of people think we're headed towards some sort of a civil war. There's certainly conflicts all over the world today. Guys, I don't think we're heading to civil war. I think we're already in a spiritual war. If you look at what's happening, it's almost impossible to not believe that. The group that's trying to corrupt the world's morality, the group that is trying to trick us, call them, run by the devil, dark forces, Satan, whatever. Whatever it is, it's pretty fucking dark. And it's pretty scary. The one kind of neat thing about that side, the dark side of it all, is they tell you who they are all the time. They tell you. They don't even try to hide it, right? I don't know if you remember the Sam Smith Balenciaga video and then a bunch of the Balenciaga ads where there is some legit satanic messaging in those ads. There's this thing called karmic retribution. And what Satanists believe is that if they tell you what they're doing, if they tell you who they are and they tell you what they're doing, and you choose to go along with that and understand what they're doing or see what they're doing, and then you keep going with it, then that's your fault. But if they trick you, if they lie to you about what they're doing, then that's their fault. Well, they don't want to be held accountable for it. They want you to be held accountable for it. So they tell you who they are. They tell you what they're doing. Their messaging is loud and clear. So not only do they tell you who they are and what they're trying to do, and their actions are clear, right? I mean, shit, look what's happening with the whole sex trafficking industry. I mean, this is becoming a multi-billion-dollar industry. It already is. I think the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing was something that, I think it really woke a lot of people up. A lot of people who, either intentionally or unintentionally had their head in the sand. When the whole Epstein thing happened, they were like, oh shit, wait a sec. Maybe there's something going on here. I know, for my brother, for example, that was something that really opened his eyes to a bunch of things in the world that he frankly didn't want to observe or admit, right? That one was like that, that cold glass of water in the face to society going like, hey, wake the fuck up. This shit is happening. Clearly the people that are in control of what's happening in the world today, clearly they're pretty powerful, right? I mean, the fact that not one person who went to that island has been arrested, they know who's there. They know, they've got the names, they've got, Ghislaine Maxwell. She apparently got arrested for trafficking to nobody. She's apparently in jail for trafficking children to no one because nobody who went there has been arrested. That's a pretty good clue of what's going on. And if you can find something more vile and evil than child sex trafficking, I'd hate to hear what it is. They're telling you who they are every day. These dark forces, they're telling you. When The Sound of Freedom came out, which is a movie all about what's happening in the sex trafficking world, and you'd think that you'd think this would be the one issue that we could all agree on, is like, hey, yeah, no, we can't agree on this, we can't agree on that, we can, but we can probably find common ground that sex trafficking is bad, right? We could agree on that. Well, when that movie came out, there were multiple articles in the mainstream media, one of them by Rolling Stone magazine, talking about how The Sound of Freedom is an alt-right piece and that, you shouldn't believe this shit. And really? That's the stance you want to take, right? Again, they are telling us every single day. They're telling us every single day who they are. Every single day. And then the symptoms on the surface are we're dealing with shit like biological men in female locker rooms and just all the crazy shit in the world. Those are symptoms. They're symptoms of a bigger problem, just like we talk about the Toronto Blue Jays, how what's happening on the field, they're just symptoms of the bigger issue. They're just symptoms of the fact that they're broken at the top. And that's where society is. If you want to look at all the good people in the world as a team, why are we losing? Why are we losing this battle? Because we are. Like right now, we are currently losing this battle against these dark forces that are, frankly, pretty good at what they do. Why are we losing? We're sitting here, we're focused on trying to solve all the surface issues. We think that, you know, these elections that are coming up, the politicians we elect, that they're going to somehow save this or make it worse or better. And they will, like they'll make it worse or better. But in the analogy I use about the Blue Jays, I mean, like a politician is just like a shortstop or pitcher. They're not going to solve all the problems. They might mask some. They might make things a little bit better in certain ways. But you're not going to solve the underlying issue with an election. Guys, why is our team losing? Because we don't have any leadership. The reason we don't have any leadership is that most of us are so disconnected from God that we have no chance. So the other side, they know who they're answering to. They know exactly who they're answering to. They know who's driving the bus, and they're very well organized. They're very focused. They know exactly what's going on. One of the tricks that they've done, one of the tricks that they've pulled off is they've made it very taboo, very almost cancelable to be religious, to be spiritual. And some more than others, but like specifically Christianity. A lot of the celebrities out there, they would face more backlash for coming out and saying they're a Christian than if they came out and said that 12-year-old kids who identify as cats should be able to shit in a litter box. Like, guys, think about that's how absurd the world is now. Look at all the things that are happening, and they've vilified Christian values, let alone Christianity. Even just the values themselves, they're trying to convince us that you know, this is what's wrong with society. That's how lost we are. And that's how good the other side is at keeping us confused. And we are confused because we're lost. Get all these people running around like chickens with their heads cut off, looking around at the world going, like, I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Well, look up. Guys, look up. Until we start to look up and until we start to connect to God, from a societal perspective, we have no chance. Guys, we are in a holy war right now. There's a war going on in this world for our souls. And if you don't see it, your eyes are closed. We may be headed to civil war. We may be, like, all these conflicts in the world, those are, but again, those are surface issues. The real shit, the real war is a spiritual war. And it's already started. Like, it's really scary. I worry for my kids. I worry for all of humanity. Because people, one of the other things that they've done is they've made in this new world of social media. Everybody's so worried about what everybody thinks of them. Everybody, right? Not that that's a new concept, right? Like, anytime through history, people are concerned with what people think of them. But now, because everything is so public and so open, now everybody's so worried about, saying the wrong thing, believing the wrong thing, sharing their views, sharing their beliefs. And the left is, and not just the left, because I'm not saying everybody on the left is evil, but fuck me, the driving forces around a lot of these left-wing ideologies, they sure seem evil. These dark forces that are confusing people. Not to beat a dead horse. They are good at what they do. They are winning. It's not even close, actually. They are crushing us right now. So how do you win this war? First thing is you got to recognize you're in a fight. That's the first step. People need to wake up and realize what's happening right now and what's at stake. The second thing is we have to start looking for leadership. Guys, that leadership is God. It's God and it's love. You add God and love to your life, the sanity will resume. Your direction will be clear. Many of the things you're confused about won't be confusing anymore. We need this. Don't get me wrong, guys. Organized religion on its own has done a lot to drive people away from their religion. They have. I think politicians and religion are sort of in the same boat in that once you reach a certain level of power, I'm not even sure it's possible to not be corrupt. And maybe the power corrupts them, or maybe they wanted the power because they're corrupt. I don't know. Doesn't matter. You get the leaders of pretty much every country on earth, and most of the people that are, at the tops of most of the organized religion, they care way more about their power than they do about, the people they serve. And there are certainly exceptions to it, right? I think the Dalai Lama is a very good man. I think the Dalai Lama, it's one of the few examples where power didn't corrupt. But you look at what's happened with, the Vatican and things like that. Well, yeah, it's pretty gross, right? It's brutal. Or even just look at the surface, right? One of the things that really turns me off about Christianity, and something that I've really struggled with as a Christian, is the hypocrisy. It drives me crazy. We all know that Christian who uses their faith to sin, right? They act like a piece of shit from Monday to Saturday, knowing that every Sunday they get to go to church and they're forgiven for everything and they get a clean slate. Guys, if you're using your religion to be an asshole, either pick a different religion or start to use it differently, right? There are some religions out there that, its base root is to go be an asshole. Those exist, sadly. But if you use something like Christianity or, Buddhism or what, I don't care. If you use a religion where at its core, at its root, is based on love and compassion, and you somehow use that to be an asshole, you're using it wrong, right? But don't let those people wreck it, right? Don't let those people ruin that religion for you. Don't let them sabotage it, and don't let that ruin the message. Men and women are flawed. We're going to fuck up the message, you guys. We're going to screw it up. But you got to look past that to what the actual message is. Start to educate yourself and start to find your purpose in it all, and use the actual real message to help be a guiding light in your life. A little while ago, I was at a conference in Mexico for my day job, and there's this award that we give out. It's called the Aldurgis Award. It's named after my dad, and it goes to the person in the company who's the most devoted to their own values. And the guy who won it this year is this guy named Art, who is a really good man. He's a former pastor. He's a really, really good, solid human. Like, it would be, you didn't have to know that he was religious to know that he's just a good, solid human being. And I'm not saying that all religious people are good and all people who aren't religious are not. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you can tell that this guy's moral compass it works. He knows right and wrong. It's very clear. So when he got up and he gave his speech, he said, it's really a taboo issue now. But one of the things that's really helped me in my life is prayer. Because I pray all the time. And when he said that, it really hit me. Because I realized that I'm not sure I know how to pray. Not sure I do. I think most of us fall in that category. Like, do you know how to pray? Do you actually know how to pray? Do you know how to talk to God? Do you know how to connect to God? If you do, that's awesome. And I'm really happy for you. But if you don't, which again, I think most of us are in that category, learn how to do it. Go talk to somebody who has prayer in their life. Ask them. They'll tell you. I guarantee you, if you talk to anybody who prays and you ask them to teach you how to pray, I guarantee you they will teach you. They're not going to say no. So I called Art and I said, will you teach me how to pray? And he said, yeah, of course. It was really cool. You could tell he was really honored and excited to share what he knows with me. And I thought that the way to connect with God was to go where God is, go up. That's what I've been trying to do. Some of the work that I had done with psychedelic medicine, I felt like connected with God on his plane. And I thought, that's the way to do this. What Art explained is, no, I mean, that's great if you can do that. But the real way to let God into your life is not to go meet him on his space, but to bring him into yours, right here. For me as a Christian, that's the Holy Spirit, bringing him right here. Feel that light. So that's what I'm working on right now. Letting God in, learning how to pray. Because I think so many of us who are looking at the world today, we're looking at it going, well, yeah, like all this insanity is everywhere, but what do I do about it? Like, what do I do? I'm not a politician. I'm not in the FBI. I can't stop child trafficking. I can't do this. I can't, what do I do? Well, if you want to fight this war, and it's a spiritual war, you better get your spiritual ducks in a row. And it's time to get in the fight, guys. Because the other side, they're in the fight, and they're pummeling us right now. Not only are they pummeling us, we don't even know who's doing it, most of us. Let alone how to fight back. How do you fight back when you don't even know who you're facing? Guys, that side Remember I said that they tell you who they are, right? They tell you at every step of the way. They tell you who they are. They have to. One of the things they do is they also tell you what they're opposed to. They tell you. And if you accept that that's the side that's ruining the world right now, and they're telling you who they're opposed to and who their enemy is, then wouldn't that tell you who the good guys are? The attacks in the world right now on Jews, the blatant anti-Semitism, the mocking and ridicule and just attacking of Christians and Christian values. Russell Brand the other day announced that he's going to get baptized. And they crushed him for it, for getting baptized. Like, seriously? They crushed him for it. The shit and abuse that he took for getting baptized. That's what we should be focusing on getting rid of? Guys, they're telling us who their enemy is. They're telling us who their enemy is. Christians are right at the top of the list. And I'm not saying you have to be a Christian. You know, like, you can be whatever you want, but you got to connect to God. And there's lots of ways to do it. You can do it with yoga. Buddhism is a beautiful, wonderful, wonderful faith, a wonderful way to live. There's all these really wonderful, powerful, love-filled ways to connect to God. They're there. And again, they are telling us who they are. They're telling us their agenda. They tell us every day. And they're telling us who their enemy is. So if you can't figure out what the answer is with all that, I mean, like, I don't know how they could make it more clear. I don't know how it would be possible for them to spell out exactly what's happening in a more clear way. But because they're so tricky and they've made it so everybody's worried about what everybody thinks, right? Everybody's so worried about what they think. And somehow they convince people that, you know, well, because everybody's worried about what you think, you know, you better not tell them, you know, that you're a Christian or a spiritual person or you believe in God, because, you know, people will judge you for that. Are you serious right now? Guys are telling us every day. And so we can sit here and we can try to fix things at the surface level and keep focus on the dumb shit, like biological men playing women's sports, and think that's the battle. Well, that's like thinking, you know, we've got the shittiest owner in the world on our baseball team, but the real issue is, you know, we need a better third baseman. It's leadership, guys. It's leadership. And their leader's clear. They've said who it is. Our leader's God, and we don't even know who he is. So, guys, we are in a holy war right now. We are in a spiritual war right now. And I'm in. Like, I'm in for this fight. I'm ready. So I'm connecting with God. You want to know what you can do to help this fight? That's what you do. And stop being fucking embarrassed about this. Stop it. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's the most beautiful thing there is. Those people that are trying to embarrass you about this, they're assholes. They're afraid. They're worried about what everybody else thinks. They're assholes. They are as big a part of the problem as the dark forces driving the other side. Fuck them. They don't matter. You get rid of those voices. You get rid of them. They don't matter. I'm in for this war. Sign me up. I'm in. Because it's coming, you guys. It's already here. until more people start standing up and doing that, connecting, doing that work, embracing God in your heart right here. Until that starts, we got no chance. So I'm in. I hope you join me. That's it for today, guys. I hope this hits. And if it does, I hope you share it. Share it with people. And stop being embarrassed about this stuff. You don't have to walk around trying to save everybody. You don't have to walk around being that person. Don't hide from it either. You're allowed to tell people who you are. You're allowed to tell people what you believe in. And the more people do it, the more it'll spread. Because the other side's doing it. Connect with that light, you guys. Connect with God. Let him in right here. Right there. Feel it. Thanks, you guys.